So 30 years after the original Blade Runner, we get a sequel, produced by Ridley Scott, directed by Denis Villeneuve. I gotta say, this film is what cinema was made for. I've seen this twice now, and yeah, it is a staggering achievement. If Roger Deakins does not win the Oscar for Best Cinematography in this film, I swear there is no justice in this world. You could turn the sound off this movie and it would still be entirely watchable. Every single frame is a painting. Absolutely beautiful. Ryan Gosling, once again proving that he's on top form. At the moment, he can do no wrong. He was in my two favourite films last year, The Nice Guys and La La Land. And right now, he's in my favourite film of this year. Yes, that's right, Blade Runner 2049 has just become my favourite film of the year. Like I said, I've seen it twice now. I went yesterday, watched it, and I kind of feel like the first viewing was just to really get all the plot in my head, and I went back and I watched it for the second time just to see if certain things held up, see if things that kind of may have been contrivances were indeed contrivances, are actually vital to the plot. And I've got to say, on that second viewing, it held up immensely. Now, you may have noticed I've not given you anything about the plot yet. I've not really kind of done any kind of plot synopsis, and I don't want to. If you don't know anything about the plot for this film going in, keep it that way, because from the get-go, in the first 10 minutes, something happens that makes you go, oh, okay, and it's a bit of a surprise. So keep it like that. I'm not going to give any plot details away at all. This is a film about ideas, much as the first film was. It asks big questions. What is it to be human? What are memories? How do they determine who we are as people? Where do they even come from? What's the difference between something that's manufactured and real? What is real? Is there a God? If so, where did we come from? Did he make us? All these huge questions. This is one of those films that you can't really say, oh, it's about that one thing, because it's about so many things. With each scene, you could take it out and just discuss that one scene, and a whole myriad of meaning would come out of that one scene. So there may be overriding themes, but I don't think there's one. I don't think there's just one meaning to be derived from something like this. And as with the original Blade Runner, that's one of the reasons I love it. It's a film you can keep going back to. It's a film you can keep discussing with people. It's a film you can have your own take on, even if it's completely miles away from someone else's take. It doesn't make you wrong and them right, or vice versa. It's just the way you bring your own personal experiences to bear on that film. And I love films like that. Now, it takes a long time in this film for Harrison Ford's character Deckard to come back into it. So if you're expecting him to be in straight away, you may be disappointed. But that being said, everything beforehand is just so engaging, I'm not that bothered. However, when Harrison Ford does come into the film, I gotta say, this is one of the best performances he's made in years. The score for this film as well is incredibly beautiful. Really great stuff. Hans Zimmer did the score to this with someone else. I forget the name. But yeah, he's doing that a lot recently, Hans Zimmer. He's kind of teaming up with people to do scores. But hey, it works. It certainly works here. It's absolutely incredible. It fits the tone of the original, kind of has many similar sounds, and a few of the notes from the original are picked up on, kind of brought back. But yeah, it's definitely its own beast, and it just feeds into creating this world in a really beautiful way. We get some really intriguing villains as well, if you can indeed call them that, and I like antagonists that have a lot of layers, have a lot of shades of grey to them. But we get this guy, played by Jared Leto, this Wallace, who essentially has this god complex, and Tyrell did. If you go back to the original Blade Runner, Tyrell had a god complex. I feel like Wallace kind of takes that to the next step. He's Tyrell on acid. The other villainous character is this character of Love, who is essentially Wallace's right-hand woman. She does all his dirty work, but she has a very childlike quality to her as well. She sheds tears when she does things that she kind of knows to be wrong, and it's like she can't quite weigh up the emotions of carrying out such actions, yet she carries them out anyway. So and she's always got this drive to prove to her father, her creator, her god, in effect, that she is the best, that she doesn't need to be replaced, that he doesn't need to make a better model, you know? So, yeah, I really love that character. I really find her intriguing, and I was quite emotionally gripped by the stuff that goes on between her and Ryan Gosling's character throughout, but mostly towards the end when we get the payoff. Speaking of the end, the final act is very entertaining indeed, and it brings everything together brilliantly. There's a few moments throughout this, and I think a lot of people are going to argue that this film has pacing issues, and I don't think it does. You know, I think it allows certain things to get in your head. It gives things chance to breathe, allows you to contemplate them, think about them. And there were a few times within the first act of this film where stuff was happening and I was 2 steps ahead, you know, and I started to think, oh, I'm getting bored here. This is my first viewing. I started to think, I'm getting a bit bored here because I'm predicting everything that's happening. These characters need to get there faster. And the thing is, what you think is happening turns out not to be happening that way at all. So I think it's a very deliberate move on the filmmaker's part. You think you're 2 steps ahead of them, but actually they're 2 steps ahead of you. As I say, I went back on a second viewing, and as a result of that, knowing what happens, knowing what comes, I was able to sit back and appreciate it on a whole different level. There is one scene in this film as well that may seem like a plot contrivance. You know, there's no real reason for why this particular thing would happen. But that in and of itself raises certain questions. Questions about, well, you know, those big questions that I was talking about, which Blade Runner has a habit of asking. It feeds into that. Is it just a plot contrivance, or is it something bigger? And I will be getting into that in a spoiler video, which I will be putting up at the same time as this one. So if you've seen the film and you know what I'm talking about, go and check out that video. Suffice to say, this film is a staggering achievement. It feels like a real Blade Runner sequel. It feels like it was made just after the original Blade Runner. It also feels like it wasn't pieced together just for the sake of having a sequel. The people who've sat down and made this, who've written this, have really thought about, well, actually, what would be the purpose? What would be the purpose of making this sequel? And it's staggering to me that so many pieces within this film feel like they were planned 30 years ago. They feel like stuff, you know, because they pick up elements from the original film, bring back certain elements, and it feels like when they wrote that first film, this film was always intended, you know, and to me that is a staggering achievement. As a writer, you know, if you can write something like that for a film that was made 30 years ago, as if it was intended, that is a stroke of genius to me. I give Blade Runner 2049 a 5 out of 5, and for me, as I say, it has just topped Dunkirk as my favourite film of the year. What about you? Have you seen Blade Runner 2049? And if so, what did you think about it? Comment below, let me know, and until next time, crack in.